This afternoon, the Trump administration rescinded its memo freezing funding for federal grants and loans just a day after the freeze was announced and then temporarily blocked by a judge. But the White House says it's still pressing forward with a review of federal spending. Danny Spiewak joins us live from the Capitol with how today's decision could impact Minnesota and organizations here. Danny?
Well, the White House said today that they rescinded this memo because they wanted to provide more clarity after that judge's order. They wanted to provide clarity about what programs would and wouldn't actually be impacted by this whole thing and the proposed spending freeze and grant freeze. But leading Democrats here in the state of Minnesota say that the mixed messaging in their mind from the White House has left them even more confused than ever. The Trump administration's memo this week freezing federal grants led to a scramble inside Minnesota state government.
Not a lot of clarity there.
Management and Budget Commissioner Aaron Campbell said the directive, if implemented fully, could impact potentially up to $1.9 billion per month in assistance to the state, including hundreds of millions in Medicaid reimbursements, which the state had trouble accessing temporarily after the memo came out.
But it's one example of why this is a very confusing exercise.
Now the Trump administration has officially rescinded the memo, but the White House press secretary says that was only done to end any confusion after a federal court blocked implementation, and that the administration still plans to freeze some funding to align with the president's flurry of executive orders.
This in no way affected Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, or other entitlements that Americans depend on.
Instead, President Trump says his administration has already frozen billions in DEI contracts, foreign aid, and immigrant resettlements.
But these were the payments and types of payments affected by the temporary freeze, and the American people strongly support these efforts.
But Minnesota Democrats at the federal and state levels accuse the White House of mixed messaging.
It looked incompetent and chaotic, and it feels dangerous to me.
DFL State Senate leader Erin Murphy said it's hard to budget with all the uncertainty, and that she doesn't trust President Trump when he says the grant freeze won't impact Medicaid.
No, it doesn't give me any relief because thus far they seem to be playing a game with this issue, and I don't know what the truth is.
Meanwhile, we also learned in the last couple of hours, just this afternoon, that a federal legal challenge that involves 22 states and Minnesota joining on that lawsuit will move forward. That's the one that Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison announced that he was becoming a part of yesterday, a legal challenge against the Trump administration. Despite the fact that this memo doesn't technically exist anymore, it was rescinded. The judge said today that he'll likely implement at some point a temporary restraining order.